Welcome to this latest edition of the Ril Dil podcast, episode 1056. Put them brooms away, say the San Antonio Spurs. Uh, this is, of course, your host, Joe Quinn. When this on a Tuesday, when you hear this, it will be Wednesday. Some of you game started already, but a lot to talk about in regards to the NBA. A couple of things I want to, in regards to the NBA, a couple of things. Well, I guess some news as well. We're going to begin with last night's finals, game three, one of the most anticipated finals games in recent memory as the New York Knicks came into that game up 2-0 in New York for the first time in 27 years, hosting a finals game for the first time in 27 years. Came out tight as a drum. San Antonio takes advantage of it and is able to hold on to defeat to take out the Knicks. Um, to take out the Knicks 111 115 to 111. This was a very interesting game, to say the least. The Spurs win 3 of the 4 quarters. There was a quarter, the second quarter, the Knicks played one. You can't play a better quarter than what the Knicks did than how the Knicks played in the second quarter. They outscored the first Spurs 42-24, shoot 73% from the field, 14 and 19, completely just seemingly like they had taken control of the game and go into halftime with a 7 point lead. And at that point, I really believe that they had completely figured out the Spurs. I thought at that point they had broken the Spurs, and I really thought that it was about to be built in last time. Like I really saw like this is thought to myself, this is going to be a sweep. I really believe that. And for whatever, for whatever reason, the Knicks came out flat as a pancake in the third quarter, couple of turnovers. Spurs um, dust themselves off, put up a 35-point quarter. And at that point, it's anybody's game going into the fourth quarter. And this time, the Spurs were able to hang on, barely hang on. There was some moments in the fourth quarter where it was like the Spurs are about to fall apart again, um, with some missed shots and some turnovers. But you got enough. Castle hits a big three. Fox hits a big shot. Wembanyama was the best player on the floor. Um, by far the best player on the floor. Anunoby was tremendous as well, but when it was a Wembanyama game, not one of his classic vintage, like not game one against OKC. And I guess that's not a fair comparison. That was one of the great recent playoff games in recent hit and playoff history. But Wembanyama, I thought, did what superstars should do. He bounces back from what transpired in game two with the just horrible pass, turn over to Castle, and then the foul and the missed shot at the end of the game. So really, just a complete breakdown in game two from Wembanyama, but he bounces back, and the San Antonio Spurs bounce back to make this a series. And I just want to say this: coming into the series, I picked the Knicks in six. Okay. And even though the Knicks, first of all, the reason why the Knicks lost that game, I give the Spurs credit. I give the Spurs all the credit in the world. They were the more aggressive team. They outshot the Knicks on the free throw line, 32-22, 24-8 in the second half. They were clearly the more physical team. And I know people want to complain about the foul, the officials. I look. That's not the officials are not the reason why the New York Knicks lost the game. New York Knicks came out there. Jalen Brunson in particular came out there and uh, reverted back to ball dominant, jacking shots, getting late into your getting too long, waiting too long to get into your offense. The ball staying on one side of the floor. They were even Mike Brown said that it was stagnant, as he's seen them. Of course, since these playoffs began. They were very back to the old Knicks. This is what the Knicks looked like in last year or in past playoffs with Jalen Brunson. Jalen Brunson, and you start looking at game three is a perfect time to start really looking at series trends. It's a perfect game. It's a perfect time. Two can be early. One is definitely too early. Two can be somewhat early. But game three, you really know by game three there are some trends that are in place by game three, and the trends that you see right now, there are two trends that you see right now that are not good for the Knicks. Number one, Jalen Brunson in this series has taken 81 shots. He's taken 27 shots a game, shooting 37%. Okay. When the Knicks had the winning streak, when the Knicks were playing their best basketball, some of the best basketball that we've ever seen a team play in the postseason during that win streak, Jalen Brunson shot attempts was around 20. They were running offense through Karl Anthony Towns. The Knicks had 18 assists last night. Again, during their winning streak, they were averaging 27 assists a game. Last night, San Antonio had 28 assists. The Knicks had 18. Karl Anthony Towns, during that streak, was averaging 6.2 assists per game. I said before the series started, the Knicks' pathway to victory would be Karl Anthony Towns' offense, OG Anunoby's defense, and Jalen Brunson closing. That would be their pathway to victory. You go back, so the Jalen Brunson's usage last night was 41%. Was at 41%. Again, San Antonio is baiting Jalen Brunson. They're baiting him to be ball dominant. They're baiting him to take a lot of shots. They don't want the ball in Karl Anthony Towns' hands because they have no matchup for Towns. Even Wembanyama has no can't match up with Towns. Can't guard him. Period. And if you put a smaller guard, if you get caught on a switch with one of the smaller guards, Towns should punish that guard. And during for a lot of this series, especially in particular the first couple games, was punishing those smaller players, those smaller guards. But you're not going to see. I mean, this is not going to be a series where you see Wembanyama and Cornette. This is not going to be a double big. This is not. They're not going to put those two on the same on the floor at the same time. You're going to have lineups: Harper, Fox, Castle, Vassell, Wembanyama, or those three guards: Champagne, Penny, and Wembanyama. That's going to be it. So they're going to be small for the most part. Again, you don't want if you're the New York Knicks. Again, I'm not going to overreact to this game. Obviously the Knicks are still in control. You win tomorrow night, game four. You're up 3-1 with three chances to close out the championship, including game six in your home building. But it does not take a lot for San Antonio to like within the blink of an eye. This series could be 2-2. And it's not like those first two games were just complete destruction. Like you walked away from those first two games saying, "Wow, San Antonio has no chance in the series." Like those are winnable games for San Antonio. I would venture to say that if you give them the truth serum, San Antonio probably feels like they should be up at least 2-1 minimum. 2-1 in the series. Knicks again. I, that third quarter, that second quarter. I thought the Knicks had a tremendous opportunity to completely shut the door on this team. I really did. In regards to San Antonio, they are just they are just relentless. Their mindset how they play, how the mentality, just they're going to keep coming. You don't. Anytime they've had any type of adversity during those playoffs, during the postseason, they've absolutely responded. And this is not going to be again. The Knicks are not going to win this series on just experience. It's not like I keep hearing that about the experience. I'm telling you right now, that's not going to be the end all be all in regards to what decides this playoff series. It might be a part of it, but ultimately the Knicks are going to have to put they're going to have to put their foot down, and they're going to have to play a certain way, with the ball movement, with balance. You can't make a lot of mistakes playing the Spurs. They're gonna make you pay for them. You can't have unforced turnovers. You can't take bad shots. You can't do a lot of dribbling. Period. And again, it's no skill. Like Oklahoma City didn't have enough shot creation ultimately to take the pressure off SGA. Knicks do. Knicks have guys that can take the pressure off Brunson. He does not have to play this way. This is a choice for him to play this way. And I don't want like I understand Brunson is Mr. New York right now. I understand like top 10 players, one of the top 10 players in the league. I get what he's done to change the culture of New York Knicks basketball. But I'm telling you right now, he looked like a guy last night that was chasing the NBA Finals MVP. If I want to be perfectly honest with you, after Friday's performance, it was like Karl Anthony Towns just like basically handed Wembanyama his lunch on Friday. And there were a lot of people, including myself, that were like, look, the series were over right now. Karl Anthony Towns would be the finals MVP. And, I listen, I don't think Brunson is I know Brunson's not a selfish player. He's a winner, two-time college champion. He, had some good performances when he was in his short stint with the Dallas Mavericks in the playoffs. This is not me saying that he's jealous of Karl Anthony Towns, but we're all human beings. And it's like, if you've been the biggest reason why a franchise has changed course, you want to you want the majority of the credit, if they win a championship. Like, you want to be treated like a superstar from that standpoint. And I would look if the Knicks won the championship and Karl Anthony Towns won Finals MVP, I don't think that takes anything away from Jalen Brunson at all. He still be regarded as the best player on it, like, you know, as in a sense his team from that standpoint. You still would put him on a list of, that rare list of small guards uh, who led their team to a championship. Now, we have a small asterisk considering that, like, yeah, Karl Anthony Towns during the postseason overall probably was their best player. But again, but that's hey, you either want to win the right way or your way, and that's a decision that Jalen Brunson is going to have to make, his way or the right way. When it was the right way, Knicks was smoking teams. The Knicks, you had like Walt Clyde Frazier saying that, hey, these guys remind me of us, our two championship teams that were not built on one individual player, but that were built uh, on movement and on balance, and you could not just zero in on one player. So I like Mike Brown has to take the ball out of Jalen Brunson's hands. You have to have situations where Miles Bridges, Mikal Bridges, or Josh Hart, or even OG brings the ball up. I remember last year during the finals, when Dagnall took SGA off the ball at times to start a game and put in Jalen Williams, the guard Jalen Williams was bringing up the basketball, and he did that. He did that against Indiana. He also did it against Denver because he felt like, hey, this is like I can't. We gotta play the long game here, and we can't make SGA a target. And SGA is 6'6". Like the Spurs will wear Jalen Brunson down. Period. Their guards, I mean, Harper, those guys, Castle Harper. Harper is 6'5", Castle is 6'6". These are powerful guards in excess of 200 pounds, 200 plus pounds. They are two of the most physical guards in the league already as Castle has a 21-year-old and Harper has a 20-year-old. So again, I think the Knicks will win game four. I think the Spurs will come back and win game five. And I think that game six will be looking at it'll be the Knicks will have the championship on their racket to clinch in Madison Square Garden. But we have a series. And listen, if you think that like the Spurs are going to go quiet, like you haven't clearly watched the Spurs this year, you haven't clearly watched them during this postseason. That team, there's a again, they remind me of the Pacers, not stylistically, but as far as they just keep coming. They keep coming. They don't stop. They're not going to stop. You have to bury that team. Yes, they've made some young mistakes, but it doesn't get to them. They don't like. I don't think game one was a carryover to what happened in game two. To be honest with you, I don't. I just think the Knicks were playing great. Like, um, I just thought the Knicks were just dominating in game two for the majority of that game outside like the first quarter. I think the Knicks like just took control of that game and dominated up until like late in the fourth quarter before the Spurs went on that 14 the nothing run to tie the game. But I don't think that was a game. What happened in game one with the with Brunson taking over in the fourth quarter and the Knicks finishing strong, finishing the game. I think they finished the game on an 11-0 run. Uh, Turned a 1 point deficit into a 10 point win. Um, I don't think there was a carryover effect into game two for the Spurs. Those are like two very kind of separate losses. They lost those games um, in different ways, to be perfectly honest with you. So I think the series again. I, I think looking for the next you're looking for what type of adjustments that he made. I don't think the Knicks have to make any serious major adjustments. I like they have to play better off. Their offense will set up their defense, and they have to stop getting stupid fouls. Like these past two games, you've had Hart and Bridges in foul trouble in the first two games in the first quarter. It didn't hurt them in game two. It destroyed them in game three. Those Bridges fouls were big. He never got into the game. Never got into any offensive flow. Again, taking another ball handler off the floor. Or another guy can obviously that can score the basketball. And if you're the Spurs, you say, hey, Yes, we would love to get two, but we accomplished what we came here to accomplish from a standpoint is the number one goal was to get back to San Antonio and drag take the Knicks back with us. So even if they lose game four, we're going to win game five. And let us we've already proven that we can win here. So and we've had great road success over the course of the postseason. So all the pressure in the world will be on them. Um be on the Knicks in that game six if it gets to game six and they're up 3-2. So and the course game, it would be the Knicks fans will torture the Knicks players or the Knicks organization players will torture their fans by allowing getting this going to a game seven and winning seven. That would be absolutely classic Knicks. That would be a way for the Knicks fans, the Knicks to absolutely torture their fans. Uh, as far as some of just the disgusting behavior that transpired after the game, I have to talk. I have to talk about that. I have to talk about that. First of all, it's just a complete embarrassment from the standpoint of having President Donald Trump at the game, having people have to be there 3 or 4 hours beforehand, having this whole TSA and just it's the shit was just an absolute shit show from that standpoint. Fans outside who a lot of them, many of them, few of them who can't afford to get to pay juniors college fund for a Nick ticket. They can't watch the game outside the garden because of this motherfucker. Like that was embarrassing enough. But I gotta say this, Nick fans compounded that with just some of the more despicable and idiotic behavior that you'll ever see. Jumping Spurs fans is the most you like I said, anybody who jumped a Spurs fan, you're a bitch. You are a straight bitch. I saw Spurs fans walking by, no, one guy walking and gets jumped by 8 or 9 dudes. No one-on-one fights. First of all, you shouldn't touch anybody. I don't care what Spurs. I don't care if he had a Boston Celtics jersey on or a Sixers jersey on. Don't touch nobody. You can go to the game, root for your team, go and keep it moving. So if you are somebody out there who jumped, who was a part of that bullshit, you're a bitch. Stay straight up. You're a straight bitch. Um, and you basically turn, I don't, I, I don't like defending cops considering what's going on in our country, but I thought the cops had to do what they had to do in that situation. Like Nick fans, calm the fuck down. You're up to win the series, and it's just like, come on, man, just take the loss and go the fuck home. And then again, there are a lot of like I love obviously been in New York many times in my life. Um, it's a great city, incredible history. A lot to like about the city of New York. It really is. And there are some stereotypes that New York gets. Sometimes New York does get a bad rap for some of the shit that's talked about from people who either don't like New York or have never been to New York. This is the type of shit that New York doesn't need this. Like New York does not need to see this for people for the rest of the country to see this shit. I'm rooting for the Knicks to win. I want their fans to who are starving for a championship after 53 years. I want y'all to get y'all chip, but y'all need to calm the fuck down. Like for real, like seriously. Some of the shit that I saw on the internet on some of these videos was just like it was beyond like I just it pissed me off because I like yo what are we really doing here like yo leave the fucking Spurs fans alone, leave them the fuck alone, period. Somebody wants to cheer for their team. I see fans all over go to different arenas to cheer with opposing jerseys on. It happens all the time. don't give you a license to put your hand on anybody by any stretch of the imagination. And again, the whole jumping, this whole, again, this is a fucking generational thing about this. Nobody fights one on one anymore. You gotta be 6 or 7 of y'all on one person. That's the good shit to me. The deep dive for this week's podcast, 2016 NBA Finals. Really the last one of the more consequential and important finals that we've seen in recent memory. The last really great finals, to be honest with you, if you looked in the past 10 years, most of these finals have been a bunch of duds. Um, I'm not going to get into the nooks and crannies, the I'm not going to get into the series as a whole. I want to really focus on the ramifications of it, um, from the results of it. So Golden State falls short of going back to back. Steph Curry coming off this historic 73-9 season. Cleveland does the unthinkable, comes back from a 3-1 deficit. Um, you have a situation. You had a classic game seven. If you ever go back and watch that game seven, I think it was 93-89. The amount of tension in that game was ridiculous. Steph Curry had a horrible game. Draymond Green probably was the best player on the floor. I think he had like 37 and 16 or 32 and 16. Um, I believe LeBron had a triple double in that. Kyrie Irving, of course, hits the game winning shot. And, Steph Curry really, in that course of that series, remember earlier during that playoffs, he had the knee injury, cost him to miss a couple of games. He comes back against Portland in the middle of that series, has, sets the record for most points in the overtime. They didn't have a great comeback against Oklahoma City. Kevin Durant's last series as a Thunder, Oklahoma City Thunder, series that Oklahoma City absolutely should have won. Absolutely should have won. Um, and Steph Curry came into the series with a real chance to, for at least 1 year, be considered the best player in the world. Steph Curry wins this series. He's back-to-back Finals MVP. People don't look at 2015 as a fluke. They say, "All right, we beat your fool." Complimentary of players, Kyrie healthy, Kevin Love healthy, and what have you. Instead, he loses the series. Had really one great game, three so-so games, and three duds. To be honest with you, and not only was he outplayed by LeBron, that's one thing to be outplayed by LeBron. He got outplayed and destroyed by Kyrie Irving, including again having the play having a switch from Clay. They switched him off that last play on that game winning shot by Kyrie Irving. Cleveland hunted Steph Curry down, got Klay Thompson off Kyrie Irving. Kyrie Irving got the Steph Curry matchup, and he knocks down the shot over Steph Curry in his building. Um, Cleveland and Golden State, Cleveland wins the game, and that of course leads to Kevin Durant in the summer of 2016 going to Golden State. And so it's clear at that point LeBron's the best player. Like LeBron absolutely is without question the best player in the world. We don't even have a conversation about Steph Curry. We never would revisit that conversation ever again about who's a better player, Steph Curry or LeBron James. Period. Kevin Durant comes to Golden State. He comes to Golden State. Golden State wins back to back. And would have won 2019 had Durant been healthy. Durant, of course, had the calf injury that led to an Achilles tear in the game in the series against in the finals against Toronto. So Durant wins back to back championships with Golden State. And even now, right, they're the last repeat champion. People knock Kevin Durant for those two championships, and don't give him the kind of the credit that he kind of deserves for being the best player on that team, for winning Finals MVP, outplayed LeBron in both those final series, right? So people kind of, hey, you joined a 73 and 9 team, and we know the obvious reasons when you compare Steph Curry versus Durant from that standpoint. That Durant doesn't have a 2015 and he doesn't have a 2022, which Steph Curry does have. But one angle I have not heard any criticism for Steph Curry wanting Kevin Durant on his team and basically saying, hey, we need you in order to beat LeBron James. 2015, remember, no Kyrie Irving, no Kevin Love. Kyrie Irving played one game in that 2015 series, but he lost a game in overtime. Cleveland lost a game in overtime and then won game two in overtime to take it back to Cleveland, and won game three, two the overtime to take it back to Cleveland at one, and then would win game three, and then they would win another game with a depleted roster. LeBron puts up these gaudy numbers, gets finishes second in the Finals MVP vote. Curry did get robbed of MVP, Finals MVP. He should have won Finals MVP, but that's neither here nor there. And 2016 was a chance for Curry to stamp that 15 championship, and people not call it a fluke, and he wasn't able to do that. But does not get the criticism for having a bad 2016 Finals, because the narrative is LeBron did it for Cleveland. LeBron's status goes up an entire level, winning a championship outside of Miami. This Cleveland team is not viewed as a super team the way Miami's was, even though Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love will both end up in the Hall of Fame someday. And even though that 2017 Cleveland team was loaded and it took an all-time great team in Golden State, that's the only team that would have beat Cleveland that year. Any other team, 2017, Cleveland's probably winning the championship. So Curry does not get anywhere near, doesn't get any smoke for, again, wanting Kevin Durant to be on his team because he couldn't beat LeBron James in 2016. We give Kevin Durant all the shit. You're like, oh, those two championships don't mean as much. Don't say anything about Curry. Nothing about Curry in regards to those two championships. And I get it from a standpoint, yes, as far as polarization, Kevin Durant by far is the more polarizing figure. If you want, I don't think there's really anything polarizing about Steph Curry. Steph Curry is not doing burner accounts on Twitter. I know Kevin Durant's decision making as far as the teams he's chosen have not worked out. Didn't work out in Brooklyn, didn't work out in Phoenix, didn't work out in Houston this particular season. So I get all of that. But Kevin Durant, 2017 and 2018, was the best Golden State Warrior in regular season and in the postseason, and then more importantly in the NBA Finals. And over the course of history, when we look at you know guys who were seeking help, all-time great players, championship players who were seeking help, they didn't choose players who were in their primes and on their level. Case in point, um, Kobe Bryant wins his first championship without Shaq He has four rings at this point. Trevor Ariza leaves, and he goes out there, and Ron Artest comes to LA, helps him win the fifth championship. Michael Jordan, they three-peat. He leaves the sport for a couple of years, a year and a half. They become too small. Go out there, get Dennis Rodman and the late Bison Dele, Brian Williams, who died as Bison Dele, to beef up their front court. Great as Rodman was, Rodman, one of the greatest defensive players of all time, still not in the same category as Michael Jordan. Okay, those players, those two didn't go add like they didn't go ahead a player who was considered close to being an equal. When Kevin Durant was picked up by Golden State. Kevin Durant was considered by many, if not the second best player, at worst, the third best player in the world behind LeBron, Curry, or behind LeBron and Curry, or some of them you haven't had him second behind LeBron. But at worst, the third best player. Curry receives no criticism for that. None. None. None whatsoever. Or that angle is not taken in regards to, you know, taken away from those two championships that he won. So I find that very interesting, to be perfectly honest with you. And again, Curry would never threaten best player in the world status um, ever again. Even the year in 2022, I had him in my top five. He finished second. I had him as the second best player in the world. And I guess I was being kind because he was so spectacular in that finals. Um, Aaron is the second best player in the world in my final top five rankings behind Giannis, who clearly, at that the second best player in the world. Now, you could have made Joker was probably Giannis, Joker, and then Curry. To be honest with you, but he never would come close to being considered the guy, the best player in the world. And again, you don't, recently we had a conversation about Kobe Bryant never being the best player in the world, which is complete bullshit. By the way, you don't hear that conversation about Curry. Well, he's an all-time, he's a top 10 player or top whatever player, but never was the best guy. Don't hear that about Curry, even though Stephen Curry was never the best player ever, the best player in the world, never. So you look at just look at what transpired because of these finals. LeBron's career goes to another level. He doesn't look back. Curry wins three more championships after touring 2016. Regis, you know, becomes the golden boy. Durant, the two championships. And now we look at his career as like, those two championships, they were cool. Three different outcomes between those three players. Those three players that have defined this generation of NBA basketball. Just one real thought, uh, and I'll let you go. So, mainstream journalism, or even the ideal of it, is officially dead. 60 Minutes recently, last week, fired longtime correspondent Scott Pelley. Pelley had been with 60 Minutes for 37 years, had a distinguished career, legendary career. He basically had this transpired in a meeting where he basically told him, as professionally as he could, basically go fuck themselves and called them out. And called like did not he went out like a G. I respect how he went out. He'll be fine. He's been, like I said, he's been one of the better journalists and one of the more recognizable 60 Minutes people for a long time now. Of course, we know the transition 60 Minutes has gone through. Pelly, of course, was accused them of telling him basically kind of like lie or twist stories or not tell the complete truth. The important part of this to me, we saw this coming when you had the whole Paramount and Skydance and then merging, Larry Ellison and all that, and we know they're in cahoots with Trump and what have you. But I think the important thing that to remember about 60 Minutes, and I haven't been like, I admit, like I grew up watching 60 Minutes, but I have not watched it consistently for about 10 to 15 years. Now I catch an occasional episode, but regardless of that, um, you look at 60 Minutes' ratings right now, okay? 58 seasons 60 Minutes has done. They just completed their 58th season. They are still by far the number one news program on television. 9.1 million weekly viewers. In this day and time, that is an enormous number for this day and time, considering how spread out the television viewing population is with 1,000 channels, million channels streaming, all that stuff. Um, they had a 9% increase in their viewership compared to last season, and they consistently were amongst the top 10 television's most watched shows every single week of the season. Okay. It's not about ratings. This wasn't a decision in terms of changing what direction that 60 Minutes is going in about ratings. It wasn't that 60 Minutes times had passed 60 Minutes by. It's not that in the least bit. Um, this is, to me, what this proves is there's still space for real journalism, period, point blank. Despite all the conspiracy theories, despite this country, this administration basically in a arms race to try to dumb down our country and control messaging. And, you know, eh, you know, you hear the terms fake news and conspiracy theories and fake news have destroyed like ideas of what journalism should look like. And the shit has turned into a circus in regards to how a lot of people feel about the news. What I'm here to tell you is if you want to understand, if you want to know what real journalism looks like, it was 60 Minutes for the last 58 years. Period, point blank. It's gone now. And it's really sad to see. Like, this is one of the most important television programs in the history of television by far. And some of the like interviews that they did were contentious. Some of these interviews were no holds barred. It was not performative whatsoever. Talk about Mike Wallace and Dan Rather and the late and great Ed Bradley and some of the more legendary journalists and correspondents that you will ever see in the business. And that's all up in smoke right now at this point, to be perfectly honest with you. Um, but again, when I saw those ratings, I was happy to know that there is still a place for journalism. So, you know, shout out to 60 Minutes and all the wonderful work that they've done over the course of the past, 58 years. And you can find. Listen, you can find if you really want to find facts are facts. And to me, it's whether or not you as an individual are consumed by chasing facts. Do you want to chase conspiracy theories, or do you want to chase stuff you may not stuff that you want to agree with versus actual things that are happening. Like it really depends on the individual more than any outlets. Like you being able to sift through the bullshit. It's become more difficult than ever. It is more difficult than ever to be able to sift through a lot of bullshit when it comes to news, but it's not impossible. It's difficult. The famous, Godfather 2, one of Michael Corleone's, I don't think it wasn't Rocco. It might have been Rocco. I don't think it was Rocco. Neary. Neary said that. Neary is difficult, not impossible. Well, Rocco, because Rocco was the one that did basically the suicide. It was even Neary and Rocco when they wanted to kill, when Michael asked him about killing Hyman Roth. Difficult, not impossible. So it can be difficult and challenging to find real news outlets, true real journalism outlets, but they are still out there. If you look hard enough, they really are. That's going to wrap it up for this latest edition of the Real Deal podcast. I will see you next time. So long.